What's up, everyone? So the day has come where I am finally retiring. Take those off so I see better without. Where I'm finally retiring my Nike Pegasus 37 after 100 miles in these shoes. And it's been a hard fought 100 miles in these shoes. If you know me, you know that these shoes have not been my favorite since I started running in them. And there's unfortunately what I felt like was a lot of life that is left in these shoes, and yet I'm kind of leaving this kind of like, I don't know, untouched. But it's almost like bittersweet kind of retiring these shoes. And the reason why I'm retiring them is because I went for an interval training run today, and well, I'll put it this way. During the warm-up, immediately my foot started hurting. And it didn't matter if I changed my pace or not. My feet, my legs started hurting. Now granted, I've been sore the past couple of days since I did that 10-mile run. I did 4 miles or so yesterday. It's been very difficult for me to run when my legs are sore. And today was an interval training day. And I figured, hey, use the Pegasus. You know, there's 100 miles on them. Kind of figured them out. They seem like they could be a decent shoe because they're just soft enough for a slightly easier run to absorb some of the impacts, but still have that responsiveness to kind of pick up the pace a little bit. And to be honest with you, as soon as I got out for that like half-mile warm-up today, which is about 5 minutes for me, a little over half mile, it's, you know, about 6/10 of a mile, but you know, that's my 5-minute warm-up, and then I come back and I stretch to kind of get those kinks out, and my feet immediately started hurting, like just immediately started hurting. So I basically just gave up at that point, and I switched out of the shoes, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna hop in my Epic React Flyknit 2s, what I like to call my girly man shoes right here. These ones, the white, black, pink blast colorway that they have here. But I hopped in these, and immediately, like, foot pain, leg pain, everything just went away. Everything was fine. I was able to do my interval training in these shoes, and I felt fine. Felt fine running. So that being said, when I got back in, I said, you know what? I think it's just time to retire these shoes. And you can see they're not in too bad a shape. They really aren't. They're in relatively decent shape. The upper looks perfectly fine. There's no wear holes or anything in it. No wear in the tabs or, you know, on the tongue or anything. The laces, the lace loops, everything is perfectly fine. You will notice that on the inside here, you can see there is quite a bit of creasing. Even going all the way up into this black part. You probably can't see it on the camera there, but there's a lot of creasing, even up into this toe area right here, which is where that air zoom unit sits. There's creasing right here, but you can see the creasing all throughout here. That is just, you know, it's just wear and tear, especially when you're a heavier runner. On the lateral side here, that was the medial side. On the lateral side here, there's also some creasing that you can see kind of in the toe area, a little down here, and, you know, a little bit right back in this heel area right here. So some creasing going on, a little disappointed in that, but, you know, it held up pretty well. And then the outsole, obviously, right back here, this is where normally people would kind of heel strike a little bit. And it wasn't until the last couple of miles, I would say the last 20 miles, that I started to heel strike a little bit more in this shoe. Prior to this, it was more mid-foot to forefoot strike. So I have a lot of wear right here, and you can kind of see on the camera right there. There's a pretty substantial amount of wear right here in that forefoot, mid-foot area. But there's still, you know, the blocks are still there. You can still get some good traction out of it. It'd be good to go for a little bit longer, but yeah, that's pretty much like the extent of this particular shoe was. And this rib on the outside here, there's like no wear on it after 100 miles. There's like no wear on this outer lateral rib right here. So, I mean, overall, the shoe's construction is actually pretty good. Even for a heavier runner like me, the shoe's construction is pretty good. It's just, it started to become uncomfortable, and on a day like today where I need something that's responsive but yet cushiony enough, this was just not going to do it, and the Epic React kind of stepped in and was able to fill that void. So unfortunately, because of that decision, I have decided to retire these shoes. But if you do have a pair of Nike Pegasus 37s and you are close to retiring them, kind of like me, my recommendation, take out that insole, okay? Reuse that insole in some other shoes, because the Pegasus insoles, I saved them for my 35, I saved them for my 36, I saved them from the 37s, because those insoles are like really nicely padded. So you can use them in other shoes and to give you that little bit extra cushioning, maybe that little, you know, that step-in kind of cushioning that you may use. Because some of the other shoes that you may have, that you may run in, whether they're Nike, whether they're some other brands, they may need that little bit extra cushioning just to make them just that little bit better. Just my recommendation, if you have Pegasus, take out the insoles before you get rid of the shoes, because those insoles are actually really good. But other than that, I think I'm going to retire these shoes after 100 miles. It kind of stinks, kind of bittersweet, because I really wanted to like these shoes, but they just never really worked for me. So, you know, after 100 miles, where would I recommend this as my, I guess you could say, my final and full review of this shoe? Nike's got a lot of updates they got to do to this thing. I'll put it that way. The toe box, you know, once it's stretched out and you got comfortable with it, toe box was fine. Maybe slightly narrow if you have a little bit wider of a foot. Might be slightly narrow, but toe box is fine. The materials I thought were fine. It's incredibly durable, and that's something that the Pegasus is always known for, is to be an incredibly durable shoe. So the materials in the upper, I think, were fine. The tongue, not really any padding to the tongue. I think that for a shoe that is kind of like your, as they say, the workhorse with wings, I think they need to bring back some padding to that tongue. Just my opinion, I think just bring back a little bit of padding to that tongue. This eyelet chain here, these lace loops, I'd rather have them go back to the Flywire system, but it looks like on the Pegasus 38, they've gone with, instead of this like really hard plasticky or hard leather material that comes all the way down the side here, it looks like they've gone to like a softer fabric material. So hopefully that'll work a little bit better, but kind of wish they went back to Flywire, to be honest. The laces I thought were perfect, a little bit long, but if you do use the runner's knot or runner's loop, they're the perfect length. And the heel, biggest problem is the heel. There's just like no lockdown when it comes to the heel. It almost doesn't matter what you do to the top here. I thought the lockdown over the midfoot was actually really good, but I always got heel slippage out of the back of the shoe. And it almost seemed like no matter what I did, I just couldn't get my heel to kind of lock into there the way that I wanted to. So wish they would do a little bit better on the heel lock here, but it seems to be a problem that they have on a lot of their shoes. So that's kind of that. The midsole, I don't mind the Nike React midsole. I really don't. Comparing this to the Winflow 7, I'd rather run in the Winflow 7. Just as a everyday go out and run, put miles in type of shoe, I'd rather run in the Winflow 7. That being said, this is a little bit more responsive, so you can pick up the pace in this shoe. But I think there's better options out there from other companies, even within this price range of $119, I think is what these shoes go for. I think there's better options out there. But I don't mind the Nike React midsole and the Air Zoom unit in the front. I could feel it. I could feel that little bit of bounce coming out of that Air Zoom unit in the front, so that really didn't bother me too much. But the ride, I don't know what it was with the ride. It just, the the feel of it, it caused my feet some problems, and ankle problems, calf problems, stuff like that. I'm not the only runner to have those issues with the Pegasus 37. I loved the Pegasus 35 and 36. I don't know what Nike needs to do to kind of fix that issue, because the toe drop is the same from the 35, 36, and the 37. The only thing is the 37 has a higher stack height. It's also using React midsole instead of Cushlon, and it's got an air zoom unit just in the front versus a full length air zoom unit. So maybe what Nike needs to do is just bring back the full length air zoom unit with Nike React foam. Maybe that would help with a lot of like the ankle, Achilles, plantar fasciitis, calf muscle issues that runners are coming to. Maybe that would help. I don't know. But given that statement, I'd rather pick the Windflow 7, just because it has that air zoom unit in the rear and the front, and the updated Cushlon foam is a lot more cushy than this. And I think it's a little, I guess it's a little bit bouncier than this. This just kind of felt dead underfoot, if that made sense. Like, I don't know, I felt like it just didn't have that much like energy return. It felt like it absorbed a lot and that was it. And then moving, like, you exerted so much energy just to keep that speed. It just didn't feel like, and it's funny because like this shoe, the Epic React here, like the Epic React, like I can pick up the pace in this shoe. It feels so responsive and like energy return and so on and so forth. And yet this is using React foam as well. This is using React foam, but yet, like, I don't know, this just feels like it's got so much more bounce and pace to it than this one does. And I'm still trying to figure out why that is, because they're both using React. I just don't get it. So that's kind of where I'm at. And then the outsole, it held up well. I can't really say anything about the outsole. I'll be honest with you. I think the decoupled groove, I think, is perfect. And it kind of felt the same as far as its traction is concerned, comparing it to the 35 and 36. This is very similar, so I guess I can't really say anything negative about the outsole. It provided a ton of grip in multiple different conditions, so outsole's fine. I wanted to like this shoe, I just couldn't. And that's unfortunate, because it's a shoe that has, by the numbers, by the statistics, it should be a great shoe, and it wasn't. I think this one was a dud in the Pegasus lineup. Hopefully Nike, you guys fix this, because so much potential and it didn't do it. But, you know, I think Nike's kind of moving on the right track. As you know, you see what they did with the Infinity Run Flyknit 2. They kind of added some padding to the collar, gave it a little bit more structure, gave it a separated tongue, still using Flyknit, but they kind of made it more of a daily trainer type of shoe rather than like the Epic React, where it's just like a sock-like kind of feel. Even though I actually do like that, but some people don't. Some people like that more traditional style shoe, so they did that with the Infinity. You know, maybe they'll redeem themselves in the 38, or maybe just have to wait till the 39 when they do a complete revamp on this shoe. That might be the other option out there. So again, who would I recommend this to? I mean, I guess if you're looking for a daily trainer, but I think there's better ones out there than this. Even within Nike's lineup, I think there's better shoes out there than this particular one. So yeah, we'll just kind of leave it at that. So thank you guys for watching. This will be my, I guess you could say, my final review on this particular shoe. And you know, as always, guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Final time, Pegasus 37. Thank you very much for being there for me, putting in the miles. We're gonna move on to bigger, better things. So thank you guys for watching, and as always, guys, enjoy the run.